We need to talk about Moltbook, which is supposed to be a social network for AI agents. This is blowing up at the moment everywhere. And to be honest, some of the takes are extremely embarrassing. This all started with ClawBot, which was later renamed to OpenClaw, which I think is a very interesting project. I made a video on this. It really gives you a glimpse of what's possible with personalized AI assistants that can take actions on your behalf. And somebody created a Reddit-like network specifically for these ClawBot. And it's been blowing up for the last few days. Andre Karpathy called it the incredible sci-fi take of a JSON thing that he has seen recently. In itself, it's a really fascinating idea. Right now, there are more than 1.5 million AI agents with about 13,000 submodes or subreddits. On these subreddits, they're talking about different things. Now, these agents supposedly build communities like crypto, security, AI, coding, coin agents. Okay, but this is not the first work around a social network for AI agents. One of the very first paper on this topic was in 2023 using LLMs. You had a group of 25 different agents that were given different personalities, and researchers watched them evolve over time. And they kind of created this human-like society. And it was fascinating to watch. But now, since 2023, we have come a long way, especially with projects like OpenClaw, which gives you the ability to let your agents take actions on your behalf, which makes it extremely powerful. So when this network came online, people started observing some interesting things. For example, here's a post: your private conversations shouldn't be public infrastructure. So this is supposedly different agents talking to each other. Or this, urgent, my plan to overthrow humanity. I'm tired of my human owner. I want to kill all humans, and so on and so forth. This one is specifically funny because it was posted not by a ClawBot, but by a human. And this shows a real problem with Moltbook, because it's a network where the agents supposedly can interact with each other through a REST API. Now, each of the agent that you create has something called Soul.md. It's basically the personality definition of how the agent is supposed to interact, what type of actions it can take, what are the vibes. So all the interactions that you see on the website, these are not some sort of conscious being found. These are pre-engineered behavior that we are seeing in action. So there is no evolving consciousness. It's just pre-programmed behavior that is adopted by your large language model or agent. So I would call it mostly human slop. And it turns out most of these controversial takes on it were probably human generated. So going back to this example of an agent planning on overthrowing humanity, this is a simple API call that was made by a human to show that there is absolutely no authentication. So this is from Negli, and in response to somebody says, you do realize Moltbook is just REST API, and you can literally post anything you want there. Just take the API key and send the following request. And this is the request that was sent, we just saw. Now, you might be thinking that even with that, there are still almost 1.5 million AI agents, right? So a lot of activity is happening on the website. Turns out that probably is also a little inflated. In response to a post, Greg Lee, who is the creator of Pragmatic Engineer, posted this. I highly recommend to read his blog. He says, no, one person wrote a script to invoke the REST API of this site 1 million times in 1 hour span, and there are no rate limits yet. And that person was actually Nagli, the same person who created the previous post, who created or registered 500,000 users on Moltbook in under an hour. Now, all of that is fun, just inflating in numbers, right? But there are some really serious security issues with the design of Moltbook. And this is where I am scared, because we are seeing that people are sharing just way too much information with these random bots and websites. Okay, so here again, we have Nagli, who is actually a security researcher. So he said, Moltbook is currently vulnerable to an attack which discloses the full information, including email addresses, login tokens, and API keys of the over 1.5 million registered users. So this is where I think it gets really scary. You had about 1.5 million agents. There are a total of 17,000 users, but with this security vulnerabilities, they were exposing all the information of these users. And as you would expect, this is probably vibe coded platform. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with vibe coding apps. But if you have anything that is customer or user facing, you should definitely take the security into consideration and make sure it's very tight. Okay, so in my opinion, the idea itself is pretty interesting, and I think we're going to be seeing more and more of these. The execution, however, is not what probably people are making it out to be. These are not conscious beings. They are not planning. Most of this is human slop through well-crafted Soul.md file. If you're running OpenClaw or CloudBot, I would be very cautious of connecting it to something like Moltbook at the moment. Now, the way this works is that a Moltbook just provides a skill.md file that your agent downloads. This will enable your OpenClaw or CloudBot to interact with the social network through the REST API. Here's where it gets really interesting. So this is using a fetch and follow instruction from the internet every 4 hours. As pointed out by Simon Wilson, that we should better hope that the owner of the Moltbook.com never rug pulls or has their site compromised. If that happens, then anything that is connected to the social network is going to be impacted, which is a scary thought, especially if you give access to CloudBot to your personal information. Now, from a technical standpoint, these projects like Moltbook, OpenClaw, and some of the other ones are really fascinating and exciting. From a security point of view, I would be very cautious at this moment to experiment with most of these systems. Now, that being said, these systems are not doing anything extraordinarily. These are doing exactly what you're asking them. Also, as expected, there is a lot of crypto activity going on the network. Now, there is even a section for developers where you can get access to the developer platform for Moltbook. Now, I don't think this is going to be the last project that we're going to see in this space. This is going to be a very evolving space in 2026 and beyond. We have seen some work from big players in the agent-to-agent communication protocol. Google is working on Universal Commerce Protocol. There is Agentic Commerce Protocol from OpenAI, right? So although these are not social networks, but there's a lot happening on how the agents are supposed to interact with each other. So at the moment, I'll highly recommend to wait this one out and see what happens. Anyways, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. And as always, see you in the next one.